The Goat House is back, ranking the big boys up front, the offensive tackles and the interior offensive linemen of the upcoming NFL draft. Don't forget, we'll be live during day one right here on YouTube, so hope you can join us for that. But let's get to the video. If you look at this entire offensive tackle class from top to bottom, the entire thing, it doesn't look that great. You run out of options at some point. There's a big drop-off at some point. There's probably going to be guys that would have been undrafted in other classes that easily get drafted in this class. So that's not great. But at the top, it is not weak. There are some legit strong prospects at the top of this class. So if your team needs a legit starter, you got to look at these guys. And there's a few more than just these guys on your screen right now we'll talk about. But these are the guys. They are legit prospects. Number one, Will Campbell, LSU. Let's not overthink things with Will Campbell. I'm not worried about the arm length. This dude is a dog. This is a dude at left tackle. And, sure, some teams might take him to be a guard, and I think he'd be a stud guard. Either way, I like him. But I like him at left tackle. And again, the arm length ended up coming at 33 inches at the pro day, which is huge. Teams are taking that a little more serious. I guess something happened with the combine. They're taking the pro day numbers a little more seriously, so that's big for Will Campbell. Obviously, that's a win, but this guy was awesome this year, but even previously, he really stood out to me when watching edge rusher tape last year's draft. The SEC guys, the top guys, Dallas Turner. I mean, he dominated those outings last year, this year against top-tier pass rushers. And LSU's offense really isn't about getting the ball out quick. They got a pocket passing quarterback that's a legit one, by the way, that, he goes through his progressions, and it's not just getting the ball out instantly, so Will Campbell had to pass protect, and he did a damn good job. Let's not overthink things here. Again, if he ends up being a guard, whatever, he's going to be really good. I like him at tackle. I think he's a damn good one. An very early round one grade for me. Armand Membu from Missouri is going to be right after Will Campbell. They're both kind of in the same category, where I do like Campbell better, but in terms of early round one, but in terms of these big body, physical, nasty blockers that can anchor. I mean, that's actually a problem in this class. There's some even good tackles that have an issue with consistency anchoring. Some of these guys get bullied at times. They don't have enough power. These guys have that power. At the same time, they have great athleticism at the same time with that, combined with the power that they have, the size that they have. They can hit those next level blocks. They can get upfield, block in space. So that's where these guys really stand out. If you had to nitpick, Membu, there were some times where he's lost his balance a little bit lunging forward. I think that popped up a few times for me in the Alabama game when watching him. So not much splitting up Campbell and Membu. I like Campbell a little bit better. Number 3, Josh Simmons, one of the more intriguing prospects that I've evaluated over the years. And there's always those boomer bust guys. There's always the guys that have big strengths and big weaknesses. But Josh Simmons, to me, the Ohio State offensive tackle, takes it to another level because the lows are pretty low. He struggles to anchor. The more powerful edge rushers will drive him back straight into the quarterback. I don't love that. He's coming off a knee injury. You don't love that. So the lows are kind of low, but I'm going to value the highs more than I'll value the lows here because there is some, you can work on the negatives. There are some things to work with for sure. This guy has elite foot quickness. He explodes out of his stance. He can get upfield, hit blocks. I mean, he can move, an absolute smooth mover. And it's not like he's completely lacking power, especially when he's kind of getting upfield. You can see him lay some nasty blocks as well. But, it's very rare to come across a guy that is this explosive, this quick. So a guy I really want to work with. Also factor in that Ohio State really mixed up their types of plays, their blocking schemes. They weren't just stuck in, one scheme. They mixed it up in every type of scheme. You saw gap, you saw inside zone, you saw outside zone. With his ability to get outside, get downfield, with his quickness, I would love him in an outside zone scheme. So, which you didn't see a large amount. You saw it at Ohio State. So if he gets into that scheme that runs a ton of that, I think he can be even better. And he did a little workout at his pro day recently, and again, coming off the knee injury, he looked great. So I'm gonna ride with his positives here. I'm gonna put him at offense tackle 3, but it is a risk. He's a risky pick here. But the highs are just so spectacular that that's just sticking in my mind. So I'm gonna rank him at 3. I like Josh Connerly Jr. a lot. I watch his tape. I'm a big fan. I think, people rank him around the bottom of round 1. I like him as a mid round 1 guy. So I think he could come off the board a little bit earlier than people think. He's similar to Simmons, where he's such a smooth mover. He's very quick. He could have struggles anchoring at time, against more of the physical pass rushers. I think Connerly, in my opinion, is a little more physical than Simmons, perhaps. But Simmons a little quicker, but they're pretty damn close. Connerly, he fights. He keeps fighting. There was several plays where their quarterback, Dylan Gabriel, will hold on the ball, scramble around for a long time, and he holds his block the entire time. The Illinois game really stood out. So I like Connerly a lot. I think people are kind of sleeping on him a little bit, even though everyone's kind of saying maybe he's a first-round guy. Some people maybe a second-round. And Calvin Banks at 5. And this shows how strong the offensive tackle class is at the top. As a whole, it's not that strong. It's actually kind of weaker. But because Banks is really solid. I think some of the other guys ahead of him are a little flashier. Banks maybe more likely to end up, well, not more likely than the rest of these guys to end up at guard or something. Maybe some teams that put him at guard. The other guys are a little quicker in their movement, but Banks can move as well. He had a stellar season for Texas, dealt with some injuries later. There is not much splitting up these 5 offensive tackles. These are the 5 offensive tackles of this draft class that if you need a starter, you get one of these guys, you're looking pretty good as long as they're healthy. My 6th offensive tackle is going to be Ariante Ursary from Minnesota. He is the obvious day 2 guy that you want if you want a starter. There's legit top 5. A little bit of a drop-off, but he is a legit option early in the second round. I think it's somewhat possible that he could sneak into the first round because there is a lot to like, with him. Minnesota ran a lot of outside zones, so these guys using their feet a lot, getting outside, getting downfield, and he did that at a high level at the same time of being a heavy physical offensive tackle, and he can move for that. So I think he's pretty scheme versatile. Even though he played outside zone, he almost has the body type to play in a gap scheme possibly. So a team that mixes it up, I think it'd be great. So he's a little sneaky here. He's an early second-round guy for me. And then next up will be Ozzie Trapelo from Boston College. There isn't really anything flashy about him, but he's solid. I think he's a safe pick, maybe later round 2. Plug him in at right tackle. He's got a level of nastiness to him. He can move. He's just not as flashy in those categories as the first-round guys. That's really all there is to it. Then a little bit of a drop-off again, but round 3 guys, we're looking at Emory Jones, which I think I might be a little higher on him than some. I just take a shot on him in round 3 because he has the traits you look for, right? He's super lengthy, super physical. A lot of people moving him to guard. I would like to give him a shot at tackle just because he has the traits. And he's another guy. He's kind of he's totally different, but kind of in terms of how they play, like play style, but kind of the Josh Simmons of day 2, where his highs are super high and his lows are super low. Like he has some bad moments, whiffing, lunging forward, losing his balance. He kind of looks a little wobbly at times, but he has some incredible moments as well, like reach blocks. He has a little bit of quickness to him, even though he's a big dude. You could see he knows how to use his length as well. I think he's pretty solid as a run blocker, why people say he could be a guard. So he has some flashiness to him. I think it's a guy you just really want to work with. You take a shot at him in round 3. Marcus Bowe from Purdue is an interesting one. Most people will rank him as an interior offensive line, which he could end up being that because he's lacking length. He's kind of built like, he's not severely lacking length. He is lacking a little bit for tackle, and he's built, in general, a little bit more of like an interior offensive lineman. I like him at tackle, though. He's a solid tackle, and his only weakness is anchoring, going against more powerful pass rushers. So if you put him inside against D tackles, these guys are stronger, more physical. I think he could have some issues in there. So I think he's a better tackle than he is guard. He's very quick at getting outside or downfield. I like him at tackle. I heard a Zach Tom comparison. I think it's a pretty decent comparison there, what he could end up being. I could see him end up being better than 9 at the end of the day. It's just a little tricky to rank because who's going to take him? Where are they going to put him? Is he going to struggle against physical defensive tackles if he plays inside? I think he would. So it's a little tricky to rank, but he's good. He's flashy. Anthony Belton at 10, a big, heavy, physical offense tackle, probably going to end up going to a gap scheme team. He had some good moments against Tennessee. You catch him, loses his balance a little bit, especially if he has to, move, get outside, get downfield a little bit. So But if he's in that right role where he's just a north and south, drive blocker, which a team like that would probably draft him, he's going to be very, very solid because that's what he does, a physical mover. So he is my number 10 offensive tackle. I like him in the early third round, early third round for these guys. Again, if a team has a plan and feel confident about it with Marcus Bowe, I could definitely see him going in round 2, and I wouldn't really complain about it too much. I'm just very curious where he would end up playing. Number 11, offensive tackle Cameron Williams from Texas, kind of in the same boat of Emory Jones, who we just talked about from LSU. They're both lengthy physical specimens that have, the traits that you look for. They have flashy moments, but they're very, very raw. They have some rough moments as well. I think Williams a little more raw than Jones. I think he's had a little bit more, I thought a little lesser of him when watching the tape, but because he had some mistakes this year, obviously. He looked like a raw offensive tackle. He had a lot of penalties. Gave up a lot of pressures this year. So the tape really doesn't look all that great, but he has moments, and he has those traits, and he doesn't have a lot of experience starting. So it's a guy that you really want to work with. You take a shot. I could see a team taking a shot on him in round 3 just because the traits he has. He played in a really good offensive line, and he had some moments. So high upside guy in the round 3, round 4 range. But again, the tape wasn't all that pretty, right? But you're kind of banking on upside. And again, he had some really good moments. Logan Brown from Kansas at number 12. Very athletic, very quick-footed, offensive tackle. Can make, get in space, get downfield, hit blocks in space at a pretty high. His tape this year was really solid. He could play either tackle spot. What was the problem before then? First year starting this year was at Wisconsin before that. Barely got on the field, got dismissed, and then ends up at Kansas. Looks pretty good, a little bit older a prospect. So that's kind of the question. He looked really good this year. Charles Grant, small school kid from William & Mary at number 13. He's getting a lot of hype right now, and that's because he's very lengthy, and he's pretty athletic, pretty speedy. He's another guy that is really good in space, getting there on time and hitting his blocks. So I understand why people like him. He's kind of an upside guy that I don't think he should start right away. It's always a little tricky with these, specifically offensive linemen that play at a smaller, played against weaker competition going to the NFL. So I wouldn't love him to start right away. I think people are a little high on him right now. I think he will struggle against the NFL competition, but there is a lot to like. But again, people are raving about his speed and his length, and at the same time, the agility numbers weren't great. I think he's more fast than quick, where I'm looking for more quick than fast when it comes to tackles. But there is, again, a lot to like, a lot of upside. I would love for a team, an outside zone team specifically, to get him that doesn't really need a day one starter where he can sit and learn a little bit and become more valuable and maybe get in there in somewhere down the road. If he has to start early on, I think he'll struggle, and I think that could hurt his upside. So maybe a little bit too much hype on him right now, but I understand it for sure. Miles Hinton from Michigan doesn't really get talked about much in the top 15 area. I thought he was very solid. Yeah, again, a guy that's not really flashy, but I think a decent combination of physicality and movement skills. Michigan, solid offensive line. He was one of the better ones on it this year, so I'm surprised he's not being talked about more. I like him at number 14 for my offensive tackles. And then Chase Lunt from UConn, who, a lot to like with him, too, because he's big and he can move for a big guy. You watch him on tape, you wish he could kind of get his body under control a little bit more. But again, it's a guy teams will want to work with just because he's so long, he's so big, and he can move. There's not too many big guys that can move like that. So there are some things to like when it comes to the UConn offensive tackle. Interior offensive linemen, so guards and centers, and quite a few of these guys have played tackle, so they can help a team there if it's needed, so that's kind of a bonus. I think it's a pretty good group, very underrated group. Donovan Jackson, I am a huge fan of. I'm probably going to be higher on him than pretty much everybody, even though there's a lot of people that like him. But he's a top 3 offensive lineman in general for me. Right there with Josh Simmons, his teammate. He actually took over for him at left tackle when Simmons got hurt, and Jackson played great at left tackle. I hear knocks on him all the time that he struggled against Abdul Carter. He struggled against a top 2 player in this draft, an elite prospect. I'm not too worried about it, especially because he's a guard. He is a dominant guard. That's where I like him. If he has to play tackle, then he's going to help a team out there. But he's got that combination of athleticism, quick, smooth mover, and power. He fits any scheme. Goes to an outside zone team, they'll love him. If he goes to a man blocking scheme, they're going to love him. He's done both at Ohio State. The second he stepped on the field, a few years ago against Notre Dame. I mean, he really caught my eye. So this dude's a stud. He needs more. He gets some round one love. He needs a lot more. He's more than just a round one guy. So huge fan. I think people are judging him off his tackle play, which was good, and then they kind of rating him at guard based off that. I think it's ridiculous. Could be wrong, but we'll see. Tyler Booker, number 2. He's going to need more of a man blocking, a gap blocking scheme where he isn't a guy that's super athletic, super quick. He's not going to get out in space, in a timely matter, but he's a guy that is a mauler, a nasty drive blocker. He's going to be, the right scheme gets him, which they will. He's going to be nasty. He's going to be, a very, very good, maybe a Pro Bowl guard. He needs specific fits, so kind of where do you take him? Could we wait for him? Teams might go. So could he drop a little bit? I think he's too good to drop out of the first round, but he'd be my number 2 interior offense. I'm a Gray Zabel, number 3. Could be a round 1 guy, round 1, round 2. He played tackle for North Dakota State, so he could fill in there if a team needs him to, but lacking length. He's either going to play guard or center. I like him a little better at guard, but it's kind of all projection, obviously, with that. Another very quick, smooth mover. I see him going to an outside zone team. Could go as early as the middle of the first round. Seattle, maybe even a little earlier to Arizona. Could Arizona target one of the Ohio State guys? Could definitely see that. Number 4, Jonah Savaiinaya from Arizona. He actually played right tackle. He has some experience at guard in the past, but played right tackle for Arizona, and he played very, very well there. He's got a great combination of physicality and, some quickness to him. He could play right tackle for a team. When I watch him, I just feel like I'm watching a guard and a really good one. Just the way he moves. Sometimes I can't explain it. I'm just watching him like this dude is a high-level guard at the next level. So I'm fine with him playing tackle. I think he could be a Pro Bowl level guard if he plays there. So I hope a team takes him, puts him at right guard. I think he's a round 2 guy. Miles Frazier from LSU, I think people are sleeping on. Guard, he played against top-level competition. He's a physical blocker, really nasty in the run game, but he stood out as a pass protector as well. For how physical he is, he can move, too. If he has to move, he's pretty damn quick. I feel like he explodes out of his stance as well. People are talking about him like he's a round 4 guy right now. I just disagree. I would take him a round 2. I think he's pretty scheme versatile. So big fan of Frazier. Number 6 is going to be Tate Ratledge. It feels like a pretty safe pick around the later round 2, early round 3 range for the guard out of Georgia. Another nasty mauler of a blocker. It's a very likable guy when you watch him play. You will see him put his head down and kind of get off balance, lunging forward a little bit, but that's kind of part of his game. It comes with his game. Jared Wilson, a lot of Georgia Bulldogs on this page. The Georgia center, he is so quick. I mean, he's the fastest center in combine history, like the 4th or 5th fastest offensive lineman in combine history. I mean, he is quick. He is explosive. He's speedy. I wonder if, the more of the physical, how he'll be going against the more physical nose tackles. So that could be a little struggle early on. So that's why I want to call him a round 3 guy, but you just do not see movers like this at the center position. A lot of upside with more playing time. Wyatt Millham from West Virginia. He played left tackle for West Virginia, and he played it quite well. He's just severely lacking the length to play tackle in the NFL. And by his play style, he's a little stronger as a run blocker, a little bit of a mauler type guy. You kind of can see him fitting in at guard. It's just a little bit more of a shot in the dark, though, so it's a little risk taking him, even though I want to call him a round 2 guy because his tape was so good at tackle, even though he's going to play guard. Like, he's got to work out. West Virginia's been pumping out these physical offensive linemen, too. It's just a little bit more of a risk because, yeah, it's all projection-based with him at guard. But a likable guy here. Jalen Rivers, another one. He played tackle for Miami, and he's long enough to continue playing tackle. You wonder, is he a quick enough of a mover? I'd say for how big and physical he is, he's pretty quick, but is he quick enough for the speedy pass rushers in the NFL? So more likely to move to guard, but here's the thing. He actually got some reps, not a ton, but got some reps at guard for Miami, and I loved what I saw. I'm tempted to move him higher. I love what I saw there. So I'd be very curious where he ends up playing, guard or tackle. I think it's about 50-50 shot. I like him at guard. I like what I saw there. I think he has high upside with his physicality there, and you don't have to really worry about the quickness, even though he's pretty quick for his size. That's one to watch. I would take him around 3, even though he's kind of getting round 4 talk, but a little bit of a risk. Kind of got to move the guy around. Then Dylan Fairchild, who's kind of being slept on a little bit. The other Georgia guard. We got all the interior offensive linemen on the slide right here. Another kind of like Ratledge, maybe a little bit poor man's Ratledge, where he's just physical, nasty, he's drive blocker, and he struggled a little bit more against the star D tackles. I thought he did a good job, though. I think he even put up a good battle with Nolan. I thought Nolan got the best of him, down the stretch of that game, but early in the game, he was handling his business there. So I think he's being slept on just because he's not Ratledge, but I don't think he's that far off. People talk about like it's a huge, huge difference. So, and there's my top 10 interior offense. It was tough to leave a guy like Caleb Rogers off this list. Texas Tech, he played offensive tackle. I like him at guard. He's another quick, speedy, smooth mover. So I think he has some upside at the guard position as well. He'd be that next man up. That was tough leaving off. So there you have it. For the big guys up front to protect teams, franchise quarterbacks. Let me know your thoughts, your rankings. We've done a few of these ranking videos. We're kind of combining, putting multiple positions in one. We got to do defense next. Then more videos will be live during day one of the NFL draft. So join us for that for our reactions. It'll be a lot of fun. We do it every year. And then Twitter for day 2, day 3 reactions. And then we'll have our spreadsheet with even more rankings there with the final grades and rankings and grades and everything there. So join us. It's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.